recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
Phil Collins with Genesis.
Welcome to Machino Music Music, the show that puts some music in Machino Music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music Music, it's Genesis 80s album ranking. That's all. Okay, here we go. Genesis 80s album ranking. Yeah, Genesis. I gotta say, Genesis, well, we're one of those bands, kind of a bit of a slow burn for me. But I've just recently started really getting back into Genesis. I mean, the classic 70s prog. And, you know, and then what we're doing today, the 80s stuff. I thought I'd focus on the 80s because, you know, people kind of like when we talk about 80s. I don't know. And, you know, this is, I know the commercial period of Genesis, the big, huge, like, MTV era, because, you know, a lot of these prog bands, they kind of had to adapt. And, you know, apparently people love to hate Phil Collins because of this. This was news to me. You could say he was overexposed in the 80s, but really, who wasn't overexposed in the 80s? That was just what? It was MTV. Everybody had to be on MTV. You know, and I mean, Phil Collins was doing, you know, he was doing his solo stuff, and he was doing Genesis still at the same time, so there's a lot of Phil Collins going on. But, you know, actually, it wasn't so much Phil Collins, it was actually Tony Banks who wanted to go mainstream, so blame Tony Banks, don't blame Phil Collins. I mean, you can blame him for a few other things, like Sussudio. I mean, he had some good solo songs, and he also had some ridiculous ones like Sussudio. Actually, I don't hate Sussudio. It's kind of a okay song. But I find the thing with a lot of the Phil Collins solo and Phil Collins and Jen, especially in the 80s, was it kind of sounded the same. Like, it was like, it just like a lot of Phil Collins, even though it was actually Tony Banks who wanted to kind of go the mainstream route. But, you know, it's like just kind of, Peter Gabriel was doing his own thing. Peter Gabriel was like doing something different. I mean, he was kind of doing a lot of new wave. He kind of got on that, but then he started like just all experimentation. He also got into the film score and did an amazing film score for The Last Temptation of Christ. Brilliant film score. Martin Scorsese picture. Great. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much history of Genesis. We're talking about the 80s albums. So, let's get right into it here. Also, while we're talking about Phil Collins, before I get into it, let's not forget how much of a monster drummer he is, too. Just an insane drummer. We all know that. I mean, it's just an insane drummer. Go and listen to especially the Brand X albums that he did. Fantastic. Insane. Early 70s, prog, so good. It's like jazz, it's amazing. Yeah. Brand X, check out Phil Collins. His drumming is wow. So, here we go with the album ranking. And at the bottom, I'm going Invisible Touch. Not that this is a bad album. It's probably the most commercial. Invisible Touch, I mean, that one's just still, you hear all over the place. That was a massive hit. Big MTV hit. And, you know, I like that song, but it could just be a Phil Collins solo song. That's one of those ones where I think, oh, that's Phil Collins. Oh, no, it's Genesis. But Tonight, kind of proggy. I mean, it's 8:49. I kind of forgot how much prog was actually on this album, because they did do a lot of like shorter songs and stuff, kind of more pop. But they were still kind of like, hey, don't forget your prog roots. We're still a progressive rock band, so we're going to put these like 8-minute songs, 10-minute songs on here. Land of Confusion is great. One of my all-time favorite Genesis tunes. Love that song. Has that crazy video with the puppets, which was the spitting image That was a British sketch comedy show that used these like over-exaggerated caricature puppets. There was an American version called DC Follies. Actually, one of my teachers wrote for DC Follies, so that's information you really don't even need to know. But yeah, when am I ever gonna have to mention that? Or DC Follies? Who even remembers that show? I do, because I had that guy as a teacher, the guy who wrote that. Okay. But yeah, that crazy video, Spitting Image. Domino is it's a big suite. 10 minutes, 42 seconds, part 1 in the Glow of the Night, and also part 2, The Last Domino. Pretty cool. Throwing It All Away was a hit. Pretty cool tune. So yeah, got some big moments on here, but just, it's like, I wouldn't say like prime Genesis, but it's still pretty cool. 1986. Alright, next I'm going the self-titled from 1983. This is a fun album. Mama, fun tune kicking it off. Phil Collins does that laughing part in it, which was inspired by Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5's The Message. When Grandmaster Flash, or Melly Mel, is doing that thing, that laughing thing. Yeah, and then Phil Collins tried to do his version of that on the song Mama. So taking influence from everywhere. So, not going the full hip hop route, hip hop way. That's All, great tune, one of my favorite Genesis tunes. Really cool. It's just a shame, that's all. Yeah, that's just a really catchy tune. They start doing some really catchy tunes in here. I mean, like, yeah, we need to go mainstream, and let's just write some great tunes. And Phil Collins, a great songwriter. All these guys, great songwriters. Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, great songwriters. And then there were 3. That was a record right before, like this era, because Gabriel had left, and is there just like now they're a much smaller band. It's just these 3 dudes: Phil Collins, Tony Banks, and Mike Rutherford. Second Home by the Sea's good. Illegal Alien, you're kind of politically incorrect now, but it's still a fun tune. I still really like that song, really catchy. Taking It All Too Hard, Just a Job to Do, Silver Rainbow, It's Gonna Get Better. Yeah, some good tunes on this. Really, That's All is just a classic. Alright, we're in the top 2, everybody. And I'm going to go ABACAB. Yeah. This is a great album. Some great tunes on here. I love the title track. No Reply at All, cool tune. Keep It Dark. Man on the Corner, one of my favorite Genesis tunes, actually written about a man on the corner. Phil Collins saw this guy on the corner and said, I'm going to write a song about this guy. Something interesting about this guy, I'm going to write a song about. And that's apparently according to legend. Like it or not, another record. Really cool album. I like this very basic album art. Really eye-catching abstract art. Cover there, yeah, really dig that. ABACAB. But what is my number 1? And it is Duke from 1980. I love this album. Yeah, I mean, really, this like has my favorite Genesis song. I just love the song Misunderstanding. So I can just put this one up for me. It's just such a great song. I love everything about that. I love the music videos. There's Phil Collins running around. They're all wearing Hawaiian shirts. I know a little something about that. Yeah, they're all wearing Hawaiian shirts. Phil Collins got a big beard. Yeah, great. Just love that song. Turn It On Again is a great tune. Please Don't Ask. Man of Our Times, one of my favorite Genesis tunes. Yeah, dig it. And you got some, like, you got shorter songs on here, you got some longer tunes. Like, where's this show the, yeah, here's, like, the times. Like, this is, like, they're starting to do the mainstream thing, but they're also starting to do the prog thing. I mean, like, Misunderstanding is like a perfect pop tune. It's like 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And then they still give you those long songs. Hey, this has got all the Genesis records here. At least up to We Can't Dance. Here's this thing with all the Genesis albums. I didn't notice that with this book. It's been a long time since I've looked through this booklet. But yeah, some of the great Genesis records. The album right before this was And Then There Were Three. So then we just like, this is where we go. And I just really, really dig the Duke album. It's just, I think it's my favorite Genesis album, mainly because it does have the song Misunderstanding. And I think just the songwriting is great on this. And it's just, I think it's just a great, like, it's a great progressive rock album, but it's also a great pop album at the same time. It's just, yeah, Genesis were just one of those bands, like, it's a lot of Phil Collins influence, because he was just a really innovative guy, monster drummer, let's not forget that. And just, yeah, and the other guys, I mean, yeah, did they lose? I mean, it would have been great if Peter Gabriel had stayed with Genesis or reunited or something, but Gabriel does his own thing. Peter Gabriel is amazing, got some amazing albums, solo records. The stuff that he did with Genesis was pretty awesome, let's say. Yeah, can't go wrong with the Gabriel stuff. But yeah, this is just, Genesis is just one of those bands, like, when I just really started getting back in, it was like, whoa, I've been sleeping on this band. Like, some of these progressive rock bands that I just sort of like, I've always been into all kinds of music, and prog is one of those ones, like Pink Floyd, I kind of slept on for a bit, and then just something just sort of hit me, and Genesis has become one of those bands too, and yeah, and this 80s catalog, I might do a full Genesis show, like doing the 70s records, the Gabriel records. I might even just do a show on Peter Gabriel, especially those first two albums, both called Peter Gabriel. Yeah, those are fantastic. I have those. Lots of stuff you can do here, especially like these bands that kind of branch off into these different things, these different people who are just doing all this amazing stuff. And Genesis is one of those bands, like, they were massive. You kind of forget for a time how massive Genesis were. They were just a massive stadium band. And, if you say, well, I don't like progressive rock, like a 2.5 hour long songs, all these jams and all this stuff. Well, if you're a fan of Genesis, then you like progressive rock. Yeah. They're one of those bands. They just, like, happen to just break out big. And you have, a guy like Phil Collins, who's holding it down with Genesis and also holding it down as a solo artist. He's not in great shape these days. He's still out there, I believe, but not in great shape. But he's still out there. He's still an absolute legend, great songwriter. He can't play drums anymore. His son is actually an amazing drummer. So the Phil Collins legacy and some legacy of Genesis will hopefully live on, even just through the classic music that we have of theirs. So there you go. That's how I rank the Genesis 80s albums. If you like these albums differently, that's perfect, okay. That's cool. Don't worry about it. This is just how I like them. Don't worry. I'm just some goofy comedian. My opinion doesn't matter. So that's how I like these albums. And if you're a Genesis fan, if you're a fan of this era of Genesis, I hope you enjoyed this. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brought Strong saying good journey.